What's up, people? It's What I Watched This Week, episode 3. This week, we're going to talk about Dune. And I watched some of the Chucky movies. I watched Dr. Sleep. I told you about that last week. And I also watched, what was it? Edward Scissorhands. So I got a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot of stuff to cover today. So I hope you'll enjoy this and follow along. As always, you can skip to whatever you want to hear about in the description. I'll post those timestamps. So yeah, you don't have to listen to this whole boring thing. If you just want to hear about Bride of Chucky or Seed of Chucky, or you want to hear about Dr. Sleep, then you'll be able to find those. And you'll be like, hey, I watched that. I want to hear him talk about that. And then just, bam, there you go. Easy as that, people. Okay, we are live on Twitch right now. So if you're watching this on YouTube, if you found this and checking it out, you can also follow me on Twitch. That's down there as well. And I do this live so we can have discussions, talk. You can ask me questions, shit like that. So follow me on Twitch if you haven't already. And if you're on YouTube here, thank you so much. Leave a comment, all that jazz. You know at this point. If you found this video, you know about YouTube. So do the YouTube stuff. Helps me out. Thank you. Thank you. So I just finished Dune. I guess let's just talk about it, and we'll start there. It's no surprise, or it should be no surprise that I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. That is notable because I did that on purpose. We're gonna do spoilers for Dune. This is just a discussion about it and some thoughts and review. So if you want to watch Dune, go do that before you watch this, because I'm about to tell you everything that happens, because that's how I do. I do like a recap review style of show. So let's talk about it, shall we? Let me compose myself and catch my breath, because I'm really spouting off here really fast. Okay, so Dune, directed by Denis Villeneuve, or Denis Villeneuve if you're, I don't know how you say his name. People say it all weird. I'll just say Denis Villeneuve, just to piss people off out there who want to be all artsy-fartsy. So he's done a lot of movies that I do enjoy. I started to watch Blade Runner 2049. Kind of bored me, so I just didn't watch it, didn't finish it. I tried to watch, and I never seen the first Blade Runner. Blade Runner just never really interested me that much. I've heard a lot about it. I've seen videos about it, because I do that. I watch YouTube videos about movies. Just never was super interested or wanted to watch Blade Runner, so I just didn't. I do have the 4K Blu-ray. That's what I tried to watch, and I was just like, okay. So maybe I'll have to revisit that. Let me know if that was a big mistake. People seem to really like that movie. Other works he's done. Arrival. I never saw Arrival. Heard about it. Heard it's good. More of the sci-fi, just drama. And, sci-fi is cool, but I don't know if it's not super my thing, Sci-fi's, I don't know. I'm more of an adventure action movie type guy, I suppose. Ugh, about to burp. Hold on. Ugh. I had too much coffee this morning. My tummy is really swirling. And I had some gosh dang chimichanga burritos from the dollar store, those cheapo ones. I had those, and now I'm really in a tummy ache zone. Okay. So, talking about all that, and my favorite movie of his is Prisoners, and I have to talk about that one day on here. But I kind of forget that he directed that. That's definitely, to me, his best film. I love that film. Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, they really just fucking kill their performances, and it's just really great. Really great, like, true crime drama. And, missing kids, it's really interesting. You should check that one out for sure. So I'm familiar with his work, and they're all great films. He's a very hot director right now. So it's no surprise that this movie turns out the way it does. I think it's really, 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 really good. Really entertaining. Really well made. I really love the costumes. I love the music. I love the shots. Did I say that already? And I said the costumes. The acting is really well done. And it's just a really solid film. And what it does best is that it's such like a breath of fresh air. It feels like something that I haven't seen before. And I think it's just the style that he shoots in that lends this new feeling to it, like a new style. And because it's a familiar thing, I would compare this movie, I would say it's Star Wars meets like post-apocalyptic meets Game of Thrones. There's a lot of stuff in the beginning, and we're already talking about spoilers. So when this movie starts out, they're throwing a lot of shit at you, and it's very confusing. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get lost in all of these different names and these different races, because it's, it's space and there's sci-fi, and I'm like, oh no, and I'm like, I can't even. And the first 30 minutes they're talking about all this stuff, the political machinations of what's going on, and it's very kind of like hard to follow. But as you go along, you really, the movie does a great job. The writing of this movie is really good because it helps you along. It really pushes you along. Like, as things happen, you realize who these people are, what they're trying to do, and it all makes sense, and it comes together well. Timothy Chalamet, I don't know how you say his name for sure, but that dude is emoed out in this movie. He is just a straight up emo kid, and it works. I think his performance is a little one note, a little one-sided, but not bad, and it works for the character. He's very brooding. He looks just like he's sad all the time, because I mean, he kind of is. His life, especially after his freaking dad dies and his people get slaughtered, basically, he has reasons to be sad. But before that, he is just kind of like. But you do see the goodness in him, and he has a nice smile, and it doesn't hurt that this dude is like, the whole look, the brooding look of this kid. It's great. Like, I could look at his face like all for the whole entire movie, because he's a handsome young man. He's like, I thought this dude was like he's like a pop star. He looks like he's a freaking One Direction star or something, but he does a good job in acting. He has like the sad emo look face, and it really works for his character. What's the other girl? What's that girl's name? Zendaya is not much in the movie. I mean, she's in a lot of the movie, but she has very little speaking roles. There's a lot of just disjointed shots of her, but because there's a lot of there's so much to go into with this movie. There's like so much prophecy stuff and visions, and you don't know what's really happening, and if these prophecies are going to come true or not. But they're done in a way where it is fulfilling to the character, and it gives him motivation, and it helps you as a viewer understand kind of where this is going to go potentially, and it gives you some more insight of how important our main character is, whose name is Paul, by the way. He's a Prince Paul, but now he's the Duke, because his father passed away in a cool scene. And yeah, I think it's so funny that there's I don't remember any of the races of these people. Like, there's I remember Freeman, the Fremen, because I was like, oh, they're the free man. They're wandering around the desert, and they have no connection to the big government or whatever. They're the free man, so they're the Freeman. And then there's the Harkolo, and they're the Astrids, but they're just kind of human. And I like how there's all these crazy names for all these people, and then our main character's name, his name is Paul. Oh yeah, cool, Paul. We got you. And what's our mom's name? Jessica. It's not like Jessa Blorb or P Blar. It's just Paul and Jessica. All right. Thank you for that, Denny Novadu. If you did that, I don't know, the book is based on a book, so, and I'm gonna read the book now. I got time on my hands at work. I can listen to audiobooks, so I think I'm gonna be checking out this audiobook because it's got me interested. It does a great job of the mythology of this whole world, and there's like a rich kind of backstory to all this stuff, and I'm glad that they took the characters where they did, because it really informs us of the world and what's happening. So at first you're not sure what's really going on, but then you get the sense that, oh, the family that our heroes, our family that had got sent to this planet, the Emperor did this because he was fearful of how powerful this family was becoming, and they send them to this planet where they don't have all their, they're off of their home world, and they're doing this special job that needs to be done, and then they're kind of backstabbed by the Empire and the Emperor. The Empire, going to the Star Wars thing already, but they're going to the Empire, and they get the people that were on this planet before. They kind of ambush them, and man, they kill them, and they're wiping them out, just so that they're not strong enough or powerful enough to overthrow the Emperor. And then ultimately, though, that's going to be their downfall, because why? They've inspired the Messiah, our hero, the one, the titular you are the one, which is our boy Paul. And now he wants to become the Emperor and says, fuck you guys. You shouldn't have done that. If you'd have left us alone, we would have just done our thing here. But now I'm going to fuck you up, and I'm going to be Emperor. So, and I can't wait till that to happen. I can't wait to see that happen in another 3 or 4 movies. So, because this movie ends very abruptly. When I was thinking, oh, this is the end of the movie? And, oh yeah, it's the end of the movie. It's very much of it's like, as of right now, it's not been announced for more movies, which is so strange, because I feel like the way they made this movie and the way it ends, I don't see how you didn't plan for more to happen. And I'm sure he planned for more to happen, obviously, but like for the studios not to have already greenlit a sequel is strange. Like, maybe they're saving that announcement to build more hype, like, oh god, like until a couple weeks from now when the movie's really blown up or it's really sank. But I think it'll be good. Everyone that sees it thinks it's really, really good. The IMDb score right now is 8.3, which is insanely high. I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing, but I'm definitely interested to watch more. Yeah, the way it's executed, it's so like, it's just something fresh in the action adventure genre. It's not the most original type of story, because it's the chosen one, all that stuff, but there is like an element of like the desert and the sand and the worms out there, and they have this cool tech, and it's different than other things. It's different than Star Wars. We've seen Star Wars so much, and now would I rather see some new Star Wars stuff or more of this? I would rather see more of this, because there's just so much more potential for things that I haven't seen before in this type of story. I love there's a cool scene where like they have their own little airplanes. What would you call them? Like spaceships, I guess. Some that like have these little wings, like dragonfly wings. And there's a cool part where he like dive bombs it, and then he like pulls the wings back, and it's like, and I was like, that is fucking cool. It's pretty awesome. The bad guys are we need to see more of them. I feel like they didn't have enough to do in the movie. Of course, they have their whole attack plan and everything, but there's only a couple of scenes with them. But they're in it long enough to where you are, them at least. You don't really despise them, but they're menacing and cool. Like, I mean, you have the Emperor character, Stellan Skarsgård. He's not the Emperor, but he, like, comparing to Star Wars, he's like what you would call. He even has this voice of fucking Palpatine a little bit. But Stellan Skarsgård plays a big, fat, ugly man, and he floats around, and that's pretty cool. He's like a blob. And he has a cool, deep voice, and I'm like, good for Stellan Skarsgård. He's kind of menacing, And then there's Batista. He's looking jacked, and he looks weird. He doesn't have much to say in the movie, but he's kind of like our Darth Vader character, just not as cool as Darth Vader. And then we have Jason Momoa was really cool in this. He should never ever have to shave his beard off. He looks like a goofball. He looks like a big goober-faced man without his beard. I don't know why they did that. Why they did my boy like that, but he looks weird. I can see why he always has a beard. He has like a wide jaw, down here, and he has like a wide neck down here. And when he has this beard, and it comes down to a point, his beard always kind of comes to a point or whatever. It makes his face more like symmetrical instead of so square. So they really did him dirty in this movie to make him shave his beard off. But I mean, you can't argue with the results. He looks different, so I guess they were going for, this is not Jason Momoa. This is really Duncan Jones, man. He's the good pilot and the fighter of our good guys. Yeah. But he sacrifices himself and dies. There's so many good characters in this that just die. But they build it up well enough. It's halfway through the movie about the time that the parents bite it. Or a lot of the good guys bite it, so we get enough build up of those characters to really feel something when they go bye bye. Excuse me, that was almost to throw up. What else about Dune? I'm just excited. I like, it's just a cool feeling to watch something different, and to feel like, man, I can't wait to see where this goes. They even have kind of like Paul, our main character, even has like some kind of force power, but it's not the force power. It's the voice, I guess is what they would call it. And he has this oversensitive feeling to the sand. What's it called? The spice. And so it kind of gives him these visions or hallucinations, but they're kind of like turned out to be true. And he has some kind of psychic power where he can tell things about people, or he can read their minds a little bit, because he knows a lot of stuff about certain people. And I don't know how he knew about them, because it doesn't actually show that. But there's this one part where he tells this girl, "Hey, I know you loved a warrior and he died in battle." And it's like, well, how do you know that? We didn't really see you ever see that. So he must have had a vision, or he can just kind of read people's minds somehow, and that's cool. And Rebecca Ferguson plays Jessica, the mom. We just watched her in another movie, Dr. Sleep. She played Rose the Hat in that movie, and in that movie, which I'll go into here in a little bit, they have The Shining, because it's based on The Shining, and they have The Shining, and there's a girl in that movie that can tell people what to do. Like, she can convince them to do certain things. Like she says, like what the girl says in the movie, you kill yourself, and then this guy kills himself. And then in Dune, Rebecca Ferguson plays a character who can do the exact same thing. She has the voice, which is, I guess, this Jedi mind trick power where she can tell you to get lost, bucko, and then they'll get lost. It's kind of cool. But they're just missing the lightsabers. Where are the lightsabers coming? But all joking aside, I do like the combat that they use, like this kind of dagger combat that's like really fast and precise, I guess you'd call it. It's pretty cool. It's cool to look at. I'm glad that it's like a different type of fighting style. It's not like clashing lightsabers or anything, or they don't even have blaster guns. Like it's kind of primitive that they shoot giant lasers out of cannons and stuff, and they drop bombs and all this, but they don't shoot any like projectile guns. They are straight up sword fights for some reason. And I bet that's explained. I bet it's probably because the shields. There's a cool thing in this movie where they have these shields that you can use. And, it's like looks like a wristwatch, but you can activate it and it's like a shield that comes up. And I bet it deflects bullets or something, or it deflects like lasers, laser blasts. But we see one time the dad gets shot at with this little drilling robot thing, and it gets stuck in his back shield, and it kind of penetrates its way through the shield. So I guess things like that can work. But I don't know. I'm not sure. And I don't really know if I like the shield stuff too much. It's kind of like, why? Like, because it doesn't... What's the purpose of it? People still die. People still get stabbed and die. Like, they don't have a shield on from the sword. So why even have the shield on? like it doesn't ever look like it's actually protecting them from something. Like, oh, didn't get you that time, but got you this time. It doesn't really feel like that shield makes any difference in the movie, if you ask me. I was waiting for something like specific the shield helps with, but I don't know. The guy said, when he was telling him about it, he said, this side pierces the shield or something. And it's like, well, okay, so this top part and this part don't pierce the shield, but this part does? Or is that always true, or is that just the technique that he used right there? It's all like, it's all kind of up in the air, You can watch people fight, but it's cool though to watch them like do the sword play and slice people. It'd be cool if there was more blood or blood at all, but there's a scene where they decapitate someone, so that's cool. And he was the betrayer of our heroes, but he also helped them out at the same time. They had his wife. Why, if anyone comes to you and they're an evil overlord and they say to you, I have your wife, or I have your husband or your child or something like that, and this motherfucker looks like Darth Vader, or the equivalent of Darth Vader, or the equivalent of Emperor Palpatine, if they look like some dark, menacing motherfucker, and they tell you that, and you can do this to save your son or your daughter or your whatever, don't ever betray your whole people and have them all killed because you might get your wife or daughter back. You're going to die, and your wife or your daughter or whoever, they're already dead. If a motherfucker comes to you and looks like these people, so assume they're already dead, and you have to save the rest of your people or the rest of your family. Don't betray them and have them all killed, and now you're dead too. Makes no sense to me that people still do this. Return my daughter to me. You promised, Mr. Mean Man, Mr. Bad Guy. You promised to give my daughter back. I lied. You're dead. Fuck you. You should have knew better, you dumbass. That's all I got to say to you. People got to be smarter out there than that, especially if in the year 10191 or whatever. Excuse me. There's a little rant for you. So what else is there about Dune? Am I missing anything that I wanted to say? Oscar Isaac does a good job. Sometimes the mom actor, who I talked about, Rebecca Ferguson, sometimes she's a little off to me. But there's some parts where she's like having to like be emotionally upset or crying for her son. And then some of that just like kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that too much, but she's having to be some kind of weird, some weird, other than human race type of character where she has like the voice, and so she has some kind of weird connection. There's this part where she's like praying and she's doing this weird stuff, sitting down. She's got like markings all over her. And I think that was like a dream sequence, because there's a lot of dream stuff in this, and I was like, what is so it's like she's weird. She's just a weird lady. Don't know what she does. Don't know. So that could be part of the character she's trying to play. But sometimes I'm just like, I don't really like what you're doing, and that's the only part. She's the only one that kind of sometimes I was like, I don't like your acting right there. Yeah, I think that's all I got to say about Dune. The sand was really awesome. Like there's parts where the sandworms are coming and the fucking vibrations are making their hands go down into the sand. Like quicksand, they sink. That happened. I was like, that's awesome. The movie visually is really well done. You can't hardly tell. Like it all looks real. It all looks believable. I love all of the machinery in this. It's very mechanical. We're 10,000 years. We're 8,000 years in the future for this movie, and everything's still kind of mechanical. Like the ships they drive with like handles. There's like metal, and there's like looks like rust on the side of these big planes. These like carrier ships. There's like a whole world here. There's like a whole mythology. But everything's still kind of mechanical, which I really like that part of it. There's not like a lot of holograms going around, or like, weird plasma things or anything like that. It's all very mechanical, and I thought that was cool. And it really gives it like it really gives the world a lived-in type of quality of like everything feels the same-ish, like everyone's using the same kind of equipment, which is cool, and it makes sense for the people that we see. Space is really big. There could be other people that have different types of weapons or different types of ships, but everything kind of feels like it works together, in this movie. Compared to like the prequels, where there's only like a 30-year difference, technically, in the prequels in the original series. But in the prequels, they have all these weirder looking ships, like there's the silver ones, and they all have like a weirder look, even though they're 30 years apart, like why are these ships so much different than these ships? But that's a George Lucas thing of like, I want to have some new looking ships. We can't just have X-Wings, which you could, and that's what they want to do now because people know what X-Wings are, but that's a whole nother discussion. I do like the fact the prequels tried something different, so with the look and everything like that. Because say what you will, Star Wars is in a weird place. I like it, but I'd rather have more of these kind of things, like more of Dune. When I was watching this halfway through, I was thinking, what if Denis Villeneuve was tasked to direct Star Wars? Like, how would that have turned out? What would that have looked like? And I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot of fun to be had in this movie. There's a lot of fun in Star Wars if you think, if that's your kind of thing. Like, Star Wars is more silly, more funny. There's not a lot of fun in this. It's very like epic. It's very grand scale, and it's very serious. It's very dark too. But it works, and it works in a good way, and you're like enthralled, the whole time. Like I wouldn't say you're enthralled the whole time, because I would call this movie kind of a slow burn, but an interesting slow burn, because there's a lot of people walking around, a lot of people staring at stuff. There's a lot of stares in this movie of people looking at things, or there's even a scene where Paul looks out at a sunset, kind of like Star Wars, but there's not the same kind of swelling music. It's just kind of like he's just brooding there. Luke is looking out for like something hopeful, like, I want to go across, I want to leave this world, I want to travel, I want to be hopeful. And in this movie, Paul is looking over there, and he's looking around, and he's like, man, I have a lot of responsibility. A lot of things are fixing to happen for me and my family. He's like, he's sure of himself, but he's not sure of what he can do, like what does he have to do, when does he have to do it? And then in this movie, it's all kind of thrust upon him. His father's dead. He's just been kind of told that people here think he's the one, because these people, the Fremen have been thinking for a while. They believed in this prophecy where there is a Messiah that's going to come save us, because they're kind of just here at this planet at the will of the Empire, the Emperor, the Space Emperor. So hopefully we'll see him next movie. But man, I had a lot to say. I've been talking for 30 minutes just about Dune. This show's only supposed to be an hour long, and I've got 4 other movies to talk about. But I would love to hear. I can't wait to watch some reviews of this after I've talked, and to hear what people have to say about it. Because be honest with you, I don't know if I've said this or not, but I had no really interest in watching this. Like Dune, okay, I don't know what that is. The trailers are kind of like, oh, it's a sand planet. I don't know what, like, I was just kind of like, oh, how long is it? 2.5 hours? I don't know if I want to sit through that. But because I do this show, and because it's got a lot of good reviews, I was like, well, I got to check this out. I got to watch this. Even though I really would have probably skipped it in any other, like if I didn't do this show and people were like, it's okay. It's kind of like if it was like Immortal Engines or something. You remember that movie where they're in the sand and they live in these big cities that just kind of move through the sand, like kind of something like that. It feels like something like that. But this just kind of feels so much more grand, and people were really talking about it. So of course, give it a shot. And I'm glad I did. Really enjoyed it. So you out there, if haven't seen it and you don't care and you're spoiled and you don't care about the spoilers, and you haven't watched it, watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. If you like Star Wars, if you like Game of Thrones, if you like post-apocalyptic type stuff, it's got all that. It's got all that stuff in there. Okay, so I think that's all I got to say about excuse me, about Dune. So last week I told y'all to watch Dr. Sleep if you were following along with me and wanted to see things that I wanted to talk about. So we'll talk about Dr. Sleep a little bit. Transition. Rebecca Ferguson is in both of those movies, Dune and Dr. Sleep. I like her better in Dr. Sleep. She's a cooler character, and she has more to do. In Dune, she's just kind of the mom that follows around or worries about her son, and that's all she has to do. In Dr. Sleep, she has like a family of these other vampire type people that are like immortal. They suck the soul out of people, their life force. I think they drink their life force, and that's how they survive for forever, basically, as long as they have fear and stuff to eat. And the people with the shine taste the best, and they give them the most life fulfillment to live longer, I guess. And so they're always chasing those kids with the shine and all that. And so that's how we get to our character, Abra, who is just a shine genius. She's a prodigy. And she finds Danny, who, young Danny Torrance, played by Ewan McGregor, which is great to see Ewan McGregor. I love Ewan McGregor. I wish he was in more stuff, like as the lead. He does a English accent in this. He doesn't do his normal, I think he's Australian, but he kind of sounds British to me in like the Star Wars prequels. But in this, he does an American accent, and it's really good. Okay, my dog's fucking running around. It's really good, and he feels like a different person. Like, he doesn't feel like, you see Ewan McGregor's face, and you kind of would probably only think about, oh, it's Obi-Wan. But, because I really don't know him from anything else besides Star Wars. So, but watching this, I never thought that. I was like, oh, this is Danny Torrance, it's just his own character. I never thought about Obi-Wan or anything, and I think the voice has a lot to do with it, but his acting is really well done too. He just does a great job. He's got a lot of emotions to go through, and he's a drunk at first. He gets his life turned around. He gets his life together, and he starts doing different things, and it's really good. So Abra reaches out to him through the shine, because it's the shine in this movie is their power is kind of like telepathy, or mind powers. And so she finds him, and then she finds the evil people. Rose the Hat is the leader, and she contacts her after there's a boy killed, and a gruesome scene of a boy getting killed. And then Abra kind of finds that because he's crying out, and she able to feel that pain. So it goes on to this crazy story of how, hold on, of how Rose wants to get Abra now, but Abra's kind of too strong for her. But this whole plot of now Abra reaches out to Danny again, and she wants him to help her kind of take these people out, or get them to get them where they're not murdering kids anymore, because they are the kids. As you get older, the shine fades. It seems like the shine really is strong when you're a child. And so you're like, how is this even related to The Shining at all? Besides Danny Torrance. But that explains all of the things that happened in The Shining, is that there's not just people out there that want to eat your shine or take your fear and feed on it. It's not just people. There's entities that are out there that want the same thing. And that's what all those the Overlook Hotel is full of these creatures that's why they were showing up, and that's why they were coming after Danny. But he was able to avoid them, and he was able to lock them away in his brain. There's boxes in there that he was able to confide them in, the creatures, because they came with him after the Overlook Hotel. They were attached to him, so they could come to him and they could show up and they could try to get him, but he was able to lock them away where they couldn't come out anymore, or come after him, which is cool. It's the whole mythology, the backstory of all this is really cool and interesting. Like the shine, seeing all the things you can do with it, and the ways you can combat other people that have the shine and all this is really cool and interesting. But it's so different, so vastly different than The Shining. But it's a more modernized kind of take on it, which is good because you kind of need that. I don't want to see the same kind of thing or the same kind of tone that The Shining had. You don't want to see someone try to replicate that. You want to see something kind of different. And this is very different and very fresh, and I really enjoyed it. It's not even so much a horror movie. It's more of like an adventure kind of action movie. The Red Letter Media compared it to like an X-Men movie, and I was like, yeah. And it kind of has that X-Men. They have kind of the mind powers thing. It has that kind of feel of, oh, this is a superhero type of movie, which I thought was really cool, and it's different. I wouldn't say that it's cool to watch these back to back because you can see this really deep, scary psychological thriller with The Shining, and you can see these beautiful shots, this beautiful acting, just a masterclass of filmmaking with The Shining, and then you can get something that's really good and really entertaining and so much different in Dr. Sleep, and they're both really good. I can't, after watching this, I just had more of a respect for The Shining of how good and impactful that movie is, because this one is good, and I'll think about it for a while, but I'll never forget Jack Nicholson's performance doing all that crazy shit, walking up the stairs, while she's swinging the bat, him sitting at the counter, the bar with the fake guy, just all that stuff. I'll never ever forget that, and that'll never leave my brain of just how cool and how crazy that was. But Dr. Sleep, I won't think about that. I won't think about anything in this movie too much, So there's that. So I really like The Shining, and I really like Dr. Sleep. You should check both of those out. Yeah, I think that's all I got to say. Oh, one other thing about it, the music in that's really good. They have that same kind of pounding heartbeat noise. They do that a lot in the movie. They also do that in Dune too. There's also some pulsing heartbeat kind of noise in Dune. I'm getting hot, and I forgot my fan was in here, but it's turned the opposite way of me. There we go. So yeah, music was good, and so the last thing I said was, I won't remember the Dr. Sleep as much as I'll remember The Shining. Well, segue here to Bride of Chucky, which I put on the other day because it's on Hulu, and I was like, hey, I'll watch some of these for my show, for what I watched last week. No, what I watched this week. God damn it, I can't even remember the name of my own fucking show. Embarrassing. But what I watched this week, I was like, hey, I can watch some of these. They're very short, hour 30. And so I was like, all right, I'll watch Bride of Chucky. And so I put it on, and I was watching it, and a little bit through, I was like, wait a minute. Because I knew I watched a Chucky movie a year or two ago, but I didn't remember which one it was. And I was like, oh, I've never seen this. I didn't watch this one. And then halfway through it, or 30 minutes in, I was like, I watched this one. I already saw this one. And so that's how, that tells you how memorable, or how, how much I cared when I watched this one the first time through. I had no memory of watching it. And then I was like, wait a minute, this does seem familiar. And then I realized, yeah, I already watched it a year ago. But it's okay, because it's Chucky, and it's short. It's an hour 25 minutes or whatever, and it's fun, and it's not bad at all. This one has, and I'm going to talk about Seed of Chucky too, because I watched both of these, one day and one the next day, and they're very much different. They're the same, but they're different. This one has a higher rating on IMDb than Seed of Chucky, but to me, Seed of Chucky is way more entertaining than Bride of Chucky. Maybe Bride of Chucky is, I don't know, better story-wise or technically. Like, I don't know what people like more about Bride of Chucky than Seed of Chucky. So let's go into it a little bit of some spoilers. Okay, so Bride of Chucky takes place. It's the fourth Chucky movie because I didn't want to watch the actual serious ones. You know, I wanted to watch the goofy shit. So Bride of Chucky takes place in the 2000s, early 2000s. No, late 90s. And so Chucky's been gone for like 10 years. So there's this girl that was Chucky's lover. She gets a police officer to get the doll out of storage, which is a funny scene in the opening where there's like some evidence in this police lockers and everything, and you see like a hockey mask, you see Freddy's glove, you see the Michael Myers mask, you see all these there's just some Easter eggs in there, and I thought that was cute. And she gets the Chucky doll, and she does the voodoo, brings Chucky back to life, which is a funny scene. She's got a Voodoo for Dummies book, and she just says some of the voodoo words. Chucky comes back to life, and he's back to his old self of killing people. So it's Bride of Chucky because Chucky doesn't want to marry her, even though the whole reason she brought him back was because, okay, we're going to get married now. But she just locks him up into this little cage. He escapes, kills her, and then he puts her body into a doll, and now they're both dolls, and they're both killers, you know. And so there we go. Now they want to get new bodies. There's a teenager that lives near our main character in her trailer park. She gets him involved and to take these dolls to the cemetery where Chucky's body's buried, because he has the amulet of Amun-Ra or some bullshit that will actually help him transfer their souls into real life bodies, which is what they want to do, which is what Chucky's wanted to do since like the very first fucking goddamn movie. And I don't think he's ever been successful of actually transferring his soul out of the Chucky doll. So there's that. Okay, and so yeah, and that's basically it. That happens, and it's fun. It's silly. It has some funny moments. Chucky as a character is just great. Brad Dourif does a great job of playing his voice. Jennifer Tilly is iconic too at this point as playing, Tiff, the bride of Chucky. And they have some fun little dialogue, some fun kills, and that's basically that. There is what I really like about it is that there is actual filmmaking done on these. There's not just like CGI randomness or like they're not bland. They're shot well, and they're made by people who make movies, and that's what I really like about it. They're written really well. They're written by the same guy has written all of the movies, and he directs the next one, Seed of Chucky. I think he wrote and directs Seed of Chucky. But Ronnie Wu, I think is his name, Bonnie. I think it's gotta be Ronnie Wu directed this one. And he also directed Freddy vs. Jason, which is pretty good in its own right. Not bad. They did an okay job for Freddy vs. Jason, which was like 5 years later or 4 years later after Bride of Chucky. But it sticks out to me. There's this one shot where they go into a top-down view. And I don't know why they would, but this is how I know that he wanted this shot in the movie. They wanted this shot specifically because they didn't have to have the shot, but they start kind of fighting with shovels. Like Tiffany hits Chucky with a shovel, and then he grabs a shovel, and they kind of have this like shovel fight, and they're hitting each other. And then there's this top-down shot of where they're next to the police car, and you can obviously tell, like we probably couldn't tell back in the VHS days, but on Blu-ray copies and TV Hulu copies of the movie, you can tell these are two like little people dressed up as Chucky and Tiffany, because when they're next to that car, the police car, they look too big. They're not they're not up to the grill of the car. They're like above the grill of the car, and I'm like, but it's masked a tiny bit because of the angle they're shooting at. but you can tell that, and it's only 2 shots of that. They do that once, and they're fighting, and then they go back to the smaller scene, and then they'll go back again, and that's literally like 10 seconds, 15 seconds of the movie. But they had to cast 2 little people to play those roles. They had to choreograph a little thing they're gonna do, when they're gonna hit here, and they're gonna do this and that, and that's in the movie. And I was like, wow, why even bother with that? That's such a small part of the movie that you didn't have to do that. But the director, the writer, somebody wanted that shot specifically. So they did it. And that's filmmaking, guys. You do stuff and you try, right? Because they didn't have to do that. Why wasn't the first shot not fine of the puppets, or the animatronics? Because I think they're actually animatronic. Maybe they're not in Bride of Chucky, but they definitely are in Seed of Chucky. So there you go. It's fun. It's Halloween. Watch some Chucky movies. You'll like it. I recommend these 2. Watch these 2 back to back. If you watch these back to back, it'll be only like 20 minutes longer than watching Dune. So you can watch Dune, and then the next day you can watch Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, and you're almost spending the exact same amount of time. And you'll have fun and you'll have some laughs. Which Dune does not have some fun or some laughs. It's pretty serious. We talked about it. So, Seed of Chucky. I should have brought some damn water in here. So, Seed of Chucky is better and more fun to me, and I just like it more. So, Seed of Chucky, basically, you see it at the very end of Bride of Chucky, because Chucky and the bride, they have some sex. Ooh. They have some sex in Bride of Chucky. And because Chucky is kind of a human hybrid, when the soul goes into the doll, he becomes kind of a human doll hybrid. Technically, his little thingy works, and he gets the little doll pregnant, and she has the baby at the end of the movie. And the baby kind of attacks the police detective, because that's something that they do. It's well written, like I said, because to get these 2 main protagonists to not go to prison, because the whole movie they're kind of getting framed for murder, because Chucky and the bride are committing these murders, and then they're getting framed for it, because there's no way there's 2 little dolls that are killing these people. It's these people. It's these guys, right? And so the way they get those 2 off is that the detective shows up and he sees a little Chucky doll, and he's like, "Oh my God, what the fuck?" And then the Chucky doll dies, and then the detective guy's out there poking around, and he calls his people back, and he's like, "Nope, there's nothing here. The 2 people we're looking for, they didn't do it." And so, damn, they're off. They're cleared, basically, in the movie's logic, which, okay, works. It works. So you're like, okay, we at least know that these people aren't going to jail. They can live their happy life, which is nice. Because other movies, they just fucking end the movie, and it's like, well, how did they not get in trouble? How did they not go to prison for the murders? There's no way that they could have explained all of this to the police. So that happens. Then the little baby doll attacks the police detective, and I guess he probably kills him. And so we go to see Chucky, and it's, how many years is it? Like 8 years later? I think it's 8 years later. And Chucky doll, the baby, has grown up. And his name is Shitface. They call him Shitface because he gets adopted, kind of. This guy is basically holding him as prisoner, and he's like a ventriloquist doll. Like, he's making him be a ventriloquist doll, even though he's not. He's just a real talking doll. So he enters these funny, I think it's like a circus show where he holds the doll up and he talks, and he's like, "Yeah, well, why don't you tell him how gross you are, or why you look like you do?" And then he's like, why do I think I look like this? I'm not gross. I'm just a little boy," or whatever he says. But he has like a British accent, and it's funny. And he has like in his arm it says "Made in China," or no, "Made in China." It says "Made in Japan" on his arm, and that's funny. And every time they show this little "Made in Japan," like embroidery, whatever on his arm, they show it makes like a little gong sound, like this racist Japan sound. And so he thinks he's Japanese. He's a British Japanese talking scary doll. And as he goes on, there's a huge meta um, what is it? I guess it's an angle. There's a huge meta angle to the movie where they're making it shows them making a Chucky and Tiff movie, like Bride of Chucky movie. So they have these animatronics in the movie itself to play, Chucky and everything, because there's like a whole mystery now. So there's a very big meta element to the movie of they're making a Chucky movie inside the movie. And the little boy sees this on the TV, and he's like, "Oh, there's me mum and me dad, possibly." And because I think there's a part where it shows his arm, and it shows "Made in Japan" on Chucky's arm, and he's like, "Oh, this could be me dad." And so he ends up going to the place, and he has the amulet. He has the amulet because we're going to get it in the last movie from his grave. But the little kid says, "Oh, it's our family. This is the only thing I had. I found it at the graveyard. This is something to do with our family heritage. It's a family heirloom or something." So he kept it, and then he's able to read the back of it, and it brings Tiffany and Chucky back to life. So I don't know how or why. I guess because he wanted them to come back to life, and I guess the world knows, or the spirit world knows, that these two dolls are the vessels for the souls of Chucky, and I don't know how he did it, but voodoo, guys, it's voodoo. So they come back to life, and they're animatronics, but now they're just a Chucky doll and whatever again. So there's a good excuse to have them back alive the same way they were in the last movie, which is great. It's a great writing, it's a great loop. The same guy wrote them all, so he has like this continuity in his head of cool things and fun things that could happen. So to see a Chucky movie being made, to have the animatronic dolls and everything there, and to have their son now, or their daughter, because a big part of this movie is that the son doesn't know if he's a boy or a girl, because he has no parts. He has no boy parts or girl parts. So Chucky wants him to be a boy, and Tiffany wants him to be a girl. And what did they end up naming him? Glenn. His name's Glenn or Glenda. So, and that's good. It's a good, funny little joke they got going on throughout the whole movie. If it's a girl or a boy, it's just great. I can't stress to you how much this movie is just batshit insane, and it's great. And Jennifer Tilly, who plays the voice of Tish, and she was also in the last movie because she's the guy that gets put into the doll. But now she actually just kind of has like a look-alike, or the girl in the last movie was actually just kind of a look-alike to the actual Jennifer Tilly, because she's actually in this next movie playing herself. So, and so they have the exact same voice, but she plays, herself. So she's in the movie, and the doll Tish wants to be put into her body, and then Chucky's going to be put into Redmayne's body, which that would have been hilarious, but that doesn't happen. He just slices Redmayne open, which she does, in a gross scene where like his entrails come out and they're all like steamy and hot, and it's really gross. It looks like steaming hot dogs come out of his belly. It's pretty gross, but I digress. There's that. So it's just fun. It's just a fun, silly time. And the way this one's shot, it's a lot more scary. There's more scary parts. Like there's this whole beginning that's really creepy, and it has like doll point of view. And you see his little doll hands sometimes. And it's Glenn, and he has these dreams of killing people because his parents are murderers. So deep down inside, he's a murderer, he feels like. Or he has these dreams of it. And it's always him doing the killing, And he pees his pants because he gets scared. He has like this whole complex. At the end of the movie, just jumping right to the end, he kung fu fights Chucky because he's Japanese, so he knows how to fight, and he does like kung fu moves, and he kicks Chucky and he backflips over him and stuff, and then he cuts his arms off with an axe, and he cries because he killed his dad. It's all this whole big thing. It's really funny and really great, and I might just watch the next one. There's like Cult of Chucky and Curse of Chucky. There's more movies, so I might just have to check the next one out because they're fun, funny, entertaining, and it's Halloween, and they have some scary parts. There's some creepy parts, and yeah. So there's some good fun Halloween schlock if you want it. They're interesting stuff, interesting things to watch out there, you guys. Interesting stuff to watch. I guess I don't have anything else to say. I'm trying to speed through and wrap it up because I'm getting close to an hour. My battery only lasts an hour, so I guess I watched Edward Scissorhands. I'll go through that real quick. Tim Burton film. Never seen it before. I've seen bits and pieces, of course, as everyone has, probably just through pop culture osmosis. You absorb certain things. So I've seen clips of Edward Scissorhands. I've heard the music and things like that. I wasn't ready for how much I was going to enjoy this movie. It's almost like ripped, like literally, the Addams Family ripped this movie off. Remember when I talked about Addams Family not too long ago, the animated one? There's a castle up here, and there's a town down here with these normal people who they're set in their ways in a certain type of way, and then there's someone different that comes down to their community. And at first they like them. That doesn't happen in the Addams Family, but this is what happens in Edward Scissorhands. Edward comes down. They like him at first, but he does have knives for hands. So certain things happen. He breaks into this place because he's kind of tricked into it, and it just kind of spirals out of control. Whoa, excuse me, spirals out of control where these people hate on him, and they start to say, "You're too different. We don't like you anymore," even though we liked you at first. And they don't understand him. It's a kind of a misunderstanding takes place. But all of the scenes are really good, and the movie moves at a fast pace. There's always interesting things happening. Johnny Depp is great as Edward Scissorhands. He doesn't really he has looks. He makes some looks, He doesn't have much dialogue really. The only thing that I don't like about it too much is the relationship between him and the daughter, because it kind of happens too fast, but it is a fantasy. This movie is very just fantasy like it feels like this takes place kind of in a different world. That's just how the world is here. It's like such a different place. It feels so foreign, so it doesn't feel like our Earth that they're on. It's kind of a dream, But their relationship just develops too fast. By the end of the movie, she's saying, "I love you." And it's like, well, why do you love him? You don't really have that much reason to love him. Do you love him like a brother? But you just kissed him on the mouth. So I don't know how you're feeling. I don't know what you're feeling. But it works in that fantasy way of, you Romeo and Juliet type of thing. Because he ends up killing the boyfriend. And then she says they killed each other in the fight. And then they just kind of abandon that, and they don't go up there and look to see if he really died or not. But it's really good, and and it's really sad. It's really kind of sad. It almost got me tearing up because just how good of a guy Edward is, and how he's tortured soul. He has these knives for hands. He almost had real hands, but his dad died right in front of him, and it's a sad story, but it's also a really good story and a really good message. And what happened? My camera just died. So I'm live on YouTube or on Twitch, but I'm not live anymore on my video. So I'll have to end this and then make a little short clip for that. And that's it, guys. So this is proof that you should watch on Twitch, because you'll get the full thing. You won't get cut off in the middle of me talking. Oh, hey there. Yeah, it's me, Jamin. The camera, it just cut off there. Yeah, it died. So, and I have no hat, as you notice, and my hair's crazy. But I just want to say that sorry that the camera died. And, this is going to be the end of the video. I was done with my thoughts on Edward Scissorhands, so, thanks for watching this video. I'll try to keep them shorter so that this doesn't happen again, so I don't have to do this stupid little small video and apologizing. But thanks. Subscribe, like, check me out on Twitter, on Twitch, all that good stuff, and I appreciate you so much. You're awesome. Mwah, kiss ya. I love ya. All right, so bye.